watching me too. He was watching the bookstore and the restaurant. Unfortunately, that May of '95, they came in and got him. Yeah, and it's like my whole world just crumbled down from that point on.
Laura, talk to us about how long were you able to keep the bookstore up before you had to just sell everything and try to figure it out as a single mom raising 2 kids alone?
Yeah, with any scandal, people have scandals. You're up one minute, down the next, and things just fall apart. People don't patronize the business. Nobody come by anymore. And I knew I couldn't keep it. Attorney bills was getting high. Regular bills coming in. I knew I had to pack it up and close down. I didn't want to, but I had no other choice.
Now, how long were you out by yourself, struggling to take care of 2 kids before you met Musa?
It wasn't that long. I think the word got around in the community what happened. And I even remember going to the mosque in the area to ask for help. The imam didn't ask for help. And he said he would, let the congregation know. I sent some people over there. But no one really showed up. And then one day, Musa came. And I remember seeing him. I never met him really, but I remember he was associated with my husband. And I felt a little comfortable, but still I didn't know him. And he said he was willing to help, best he could, to keep it open. But, he did try, and I still ended up closing it down.
Was it that connection with Musa, him trying to help you keep the bookstore open, that you felt comfortable enough to move in his home with your 2 children, although you didn't know him that well?
Right, I didn't know him that well. But when I met him and his wife and his children, the very first time I would say I met all of them, he brought them first down. They didn't show that part. He brought them down to the restaurant and the bookstore. Because they actually were the ones inside trying to help me clean up, or order food, things like that. But they were struggling too on their own. And I was definitely struggling. So he came up with this plan. He said he would talk to my husband for me, and to move in with him and his wife and his children, just until Shabazz got out of prison. And I thought it was a great idea. I said, okay, let's do it.
Now, when you moved in, it was Musa, his wife, and 13 kids?
12.
12 at the time?
Yeah, right.
Okay. And then how long had Shabazz been sentenced? How long did you plan to stay with them? What was the plan?
I said, oh gosh, yeah. I can't tell you the exact date, but when he was sentenced, he served they gave him 5 years. And that was federal time, so he served every bit of that. And it was heartbreaking because just being out there, he didn't know what to do. 3,000 miles away from my family back in Cleveland, and when he offered that help, what's that old saying, everything glitter?
Not gold.
Yeah, there's a real meaning behind that too. But you don't see it at the beginning, you just see the help. And you take the help, because I'm a trusting person until you show me. So I give you that benefit of a doubt in anyone.
Laura, walk us through, what was the environment like walking in this home with a struggling family, 12 kids, 2 of your own? Walk us through that environment.
Well, before we moved in, or when we all...
When you all moved in, we're the Brady Bunch and beyond. Walk us through that.
I would say in the beginning, you don't see anything. What my mother used to say, you really know a person when you move in with them. Yeah. So you don't see it. You don't. I mean, it's just like a honeymoon period, I guess, if you will. And everything looks good. He was very, very was strict in a way, but he didn't show that strictness lead to the kids. But that gut feeling, you always had that gut. And I think you should really pay attention to your gut, people. You know, when it tells you not to go down that alley, don't go down that alley. And a lot of us, we tend to ignore our gut feeling. We just proceed on. And that's what I really did. I didn't really watch. And I saw things, I kind of just let, you know, oh, that's his lifestyle, his way. You know, I didn't interfere.
Lord, talk to us about when you first saw that serious red flag from Musa.
Yeah.
Why didn't you pack up and leave?
Yeah. Well, you saw in the movie, I wanted to talk to him about his behavior. And it's the way he was disciplining the children. Because the way he disciplined, that's another thing Lifetime didn't show. That anybody saw the show on ID, Investigation Discovery? It was on House of Horrors, and then the other show was No One Can Hear You Scream. And everyone had their Muslim garment on, you know, that. But they didn't show that with Lifetime at all, okay? But that red flag is the question, huh?
The first serious red flag.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk to him about him being a friend associated with my husband. And just talk to him and see what's going on. I came out and talked to him. Now, Lifetime did a thing that didn't really happen with the gun. It happened inside the house, but not outside. And they had me going out and talking to Musa about what he was doing. And I'm letting him know, you know, I don't agree with the way, you know, I know it's your children, but I don't agree with the way you're doing things and how you're treating them. Now, I'll give you some examples. If they didn't get up on time for prayer, he would go in their rooms and throw buckets of water on them. There would be punishment times if they didn't know different verses in the Quran. He would have them standing in the corner overnight, maybe on one foot. It was torture. And he would always come out and check to make sure they were in that position. If not, they would get punished even more. He would withhold food from them. That was another form of punishment. So he had his own little torture tactics.
I want to read something here from the court document. Whenever a hungry child would steal food, he or she would be beaten and forced to eat the stolen food until he or she vomited. They were forced to eat their own vomit and feces. Musa kept empty food containers in the front portion of the kitchen cabinets, so it appeared, let me read that over. Musa kept empty food containers in the front portion of the kitchen cabinets, so that it appeared there was sufficient enough food for whenever, in the event, Child Protective Service workers or the law came to visit the house. Let's take a look at Musa in action. Roll the clip, please.
They all look so hungry, so we just decided to share, spreading God's love.
Well, by all means. I feed you, I clothe you, and what do I get in return? I get disobedience. I get gluttony. We should be filling ourselves with the Word of God. And you know better. Are you stuffed with sin?
Yes, sir.
God tells us to put a knife to our throat if we are given to gluttony.
Musa!
This does not concern you.
They were just hungry.
Powerful. about before about an incident with rice with one of the children. Can you share that story with us, Laura?
Okay, great. Yeah.
Time.
It was his oldest son. I'm not mentioning names. But, like I said, he withheld food from them, so they were hungry. And I guess one time he didn't have lock up the refrigerator, and one of the boys or someone in the family took a bowl of rice and ate it. And he saw that it was missing. He lined them up to see which one did it. He started with his oldest one, and he wouldn't tell him who ate the rice. Musa went out in the backyard and dug a hole. And dug for a long time. It was pretty deep. And he went in and got Jihad. He put him in the hole. And he buried him in a hole up to his neck. Only his head was exposed. And he asked him again, who ate the rice? And Jihad still wouldn't tell him. He went in the kitchen and got a jar of honey, went outside and poured it over his head. And it didn't take but seconds later, he was screaming because the ants was eating all over his flesh. And he ended up breaking down and said he stole the rice. So that was one of the punishments.
Horrific. In the court document, Musa beat his children with his hands, a belt buckle, or electrical stitching cord, switches from tree branches, the buckle end of a belt. He would beat their hands and knuckles until they were in severe pain and their hands were swollen and bloody. He also had his children lie on their stomachs with their feet in the air and then beat their feet, causing them to swell.
That's my baby walking in, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Taz,
hey,
you sit
gorgeous.
down.
Hey, Taz. Hey, gorgeous. Taz came at the perfect time. Talk to us about how you end up getting pregnant with Taz. He forcefully put himself upon you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how were you able to try to maintain a healthy pregnancy while dealing in a house full of chaos and in a toxic environment like that? How were you able to have a healthy pregnancy?
Well, I know it was nothing but God because I had no prenatal care. He didn't take him to see a doctor. He couldn't go to the hospital. Matter of fact, he wanted to have the baby there. But I had complications and I was bleeding. And that's the only way he took me to the hospital and they admitted me. And I was kind of glad to be in the hospital for a minute because I felt like now I could talk to somebody, because he didn't have anyone come to the house at all. And he couldn't talk on the phone because he would monitor the phone conversations. So I befriended a nurse there, and I thought it would be a perfect time to maybe talk to her and let her know what was happening to me. But he never left the room. He stayed overnight. He may have went into the restroom right there and used the bathroom and came back and sat right there the entire time for 2.5 days. So that plan just spoiled on me. I couldn't talk to anyone about it.
How was it? So after bringing the baby home, and tell us about your mindset, knowing you have this new beautiful baby girl, and you know the environment that you have to unfortunately walk her back into.
Ooh, well, number one, I was going through so much, Tracy. I was so confused and so much was going on. Because think about it. I'm married. And I have someone else's child. That right there is it's unexplainable. How do you explain that? What am I going to tell him when I see him when he gets out of jail? But I knew deep down inside, God would make a way. I knew this child, I said to myself, was me and God's child. I just took Musa out the equation altogether. Because even, other people asked too, later on down the line, back in Ohio, well, why didn't you just leave her? Or why didn't you get an abortion? Or why didn't you just, get rid of her? And no. I love my children, and she was a part of me. So there's no way in the world. But bringing her back into that environment to go back to the house, yeah, that was rough. That was rough. But the children loved their sister. They did. And Tracy, I don't know what to tell you, girl. I had tried so many times to escape from that situation. He didn't trust me anymore. And then I think that's when he pretty much snapped, because he knew I wanted to leave. I tried many, many different ways. So he just took me, threw me in that garage. Later on, he put Miriam and little Muhammad in that garage. But Taslima, he took away from her and gave Taslima to his wife. So I had no contact with her whatsoever.
And we're going to get to that question. Help us understand. He knows you're married to Shabazz.
Mm-hmm.
He's married. We won't say her name.
Right.
He's married. When did it come, and how do you feel when you're married to another man and he's now calling you his wife while his own wife is in the house? Walk us through that.
Walk me out of it.
Right?
Pure insanity, really. And I'm telling you, it's crazy when you're isolated like that, taken away from your family, taken away from people. You can't work, go to school, nothing. And it's just, I can't explain it. It's just, you're like living in a foreign country, but you're right there in the United States. It's just unbelievable, the mindset. I was really terrified of him because I didn't know what he had planned. He mentioned a lot of things of, killing us all. He mentioned digging a hole in the backyard and putting all of us in there. Things like that, you have to, those are threats you have to take seriously. Even taking a bullet out the gun and putting it on the table and walking away. Just little mental mind games he played, to put that fear in you, to break you down, break your will down. And it works. It really does work, because I was terrified of him. Because he would have been the type of person, if he was hemmed up in that house with law enforcement around, because that's what, in my mind, he would have killed everybody and even killed himself. And I didn't want that to happen.
What did your family back in Ohio, because he had you so isolated, did any red flags go from your family, like, why can't we reach Laura? Did they try to come to California to find you, to get you? They lost all communication. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I was able to talk to my sister briefly, because like I said, he monitored all the phone calls. I could even slip in maybe a little hint, because I knew if I did try, he would take the phone privilege away totally. So I had to be very mindful of what I said to her. But yeah, eventually there was no more communication with her at all. And I knew my family would be looking for me. I knew that. As a matter of fact, I found out later down the line, once it was all over, my husband also put out a all points bulletin as well. Because we had just totally disappeared off the grid. He didn't know where we were.
Laura, we know Musa has did so much. And then you mentioned how he put you in the garage, but at first, your kids, Miriam and Ahmad, were still in the house. What happened that day? What made him lose his cool and snap to throw you in the garage? What happened that day?
Like I said, he was angry with me because I did try to escape several times. He didn't trust me anymore. was like walking on eggshells when you're in there, you know. You had to watch certain things you said. You didn't want to take them off, piss them off. But the trust factor was gone. At that point, I hated him. At that point, I felt like if I had a way, I'd probably be in jail right now myself because I would have killed him. But you pray on, you pray and you pray. I knew my children. I didn't want that to happen to me, and they'd be out there with no one. Some things you just had to just bear, but oh my God, I don't know, Tracy. A lot of times when I look back at stuff like that, I'm wondering just how the hell did I do it? How did I get myself into this shit? It's incredible, and things happen so fast sometimes. You can't even process. And it hits you. By that time it's too late. Now, the only thing you can do is go into survivor mode and stay alive, stay sane, and figure out a way to get out.
Laura, talk to us about the temperament when it's one thing that you're in the garage and it's freezing cold, your kids are in the house, but then the day unfortunately happened when he put Ahmad and Mira in the garage with you. And now we're talking cold garage, no lights, no food, no running water. What was going through your mind? How did you talk to us?
Well, I thank God for number one, He did bring them in there, because at least they were with me. I figured we all die, we die together. And being in there, I noticed that I saw them deteriorate right in front of my eyes. My son's stomach started to extend, lack of malnutrition, lack of food. Our color of our skin wasn't brown anymore. It was like an ashy gray. It was like a sunlight. Miriam's hair was falling out. There was so many things that was happening to us. But at least I know we were all together. If something had happened, we just all died together. But I prayed and I prayed. You know how in the back of your mind, something bad happens, but you know you're going to get through it. You know, that's where your faith comes in at. When, you don't know. But you know you're going to get through it.
Yes, yes. It got to a point where he brought another woman home and her kid, and he threw her in the garage on the side. And you were, while you're battling with your own battle, you were trying to give her words of encouragement. It's going to be okay. We're going to get out of here. Was she able to hold up? Like, what was she going through? And two moms fighting for your lives in the garage.
She really panicked, and they had on the movie that was talking to her through this little cut, I guess. But no, it was a 3-car garage, and we were in the big portion of the garage. She was in a smaller room on the side, that third garage. And we would talk up underneath the door, because there was a slit about that thick that you can, talk up underneath and talk to one another that way. They do a lot of things, I guess, for made for TV, but that's how we communicated. And I had to talk to her, and we both gave each other encouragement that we would get out. We just didn't know how.
Now, in the movie, it shows the garage. Of course, it's dim, but there's a light in there. Laura, I'm sure this is probably the first time where you can really describe the conditions of the garage. How were you able to use the restroom? How did you sleep? Really, give us details about that. The conditions of the garage, please.
The conditions. During the day, it was warm. At night, it was freezing cold. It was dark. Sometimes a little light would come through some of the cracks on the garage door. God, Tracy, there was this little, wasn't like a mattress, it was like a little mat that was on the floor that we all slept on. And we cuddled up little fetal positions just to stay warm, you know. And it was so bad in there. I remember the children had anyone to talk to but each other or play with. And I know they didn't show this in the movie, and I wanted the producer to do it, but they didn't put it in. My son, Ahmed, befriended this little mouse. And he called him Measles. And Measles came up underneath the door just to stay warm. And he would have a conversation. I knew then we were losing our minds. And he would actually have a conversation with him, like that was his best friend. And I just, you know, when you're seeing all of that, my God, it looks like a movie itself, a bad one. And I knew we were cracking up. We were.
I was reading in the court doc, Musa did not allow his children to use the bathroom in the house, and making them urinate and defecate in buckets or plastic bags. When they got full, then he allowed them to empty them in the toilet.
Yeah.
In the garage, how were you and your children using the restroom?
And there were buckets in there, a couple of buckets, and there were bottles, because the LA Times did a multimedia piece, and they were able to get the evidence from the DA. And yeah, that's how we had to use the bathroom in buckets. He would bring us out at night, and he would dig a hole in the back, and we would pour all our urine and waste in the hole.
In the total, Laura, how long were you and the children in the garage?
I'd say maybe 8 to 9 months, but that's why I always say a little over 6 months. Because when you're in that kind of situation, you do lose track of time. You don't even know. You go by the sun when it comes up, and when it resets, you're not even aware what the month is, you know. So yeah, it was at least over 6 months.
Talk to us about what strategies, methods, motherly instinct that you use to try to give your kids some sense of normalcy in the garage.
Yeah, we played different games. Me and my son. It was devastating though, because I could hear my youngest baby through the garage door in the inside of the house crying. And it's like it hurts because you can't get to her. You know, you don't even know if you're gonna ever see her again. But we would play little games in the garage, just something to keep them sane, keep us all sane, sing songs together. Pray a lot, pray quite a bit. I remember Musa would beat us sometimes, and sometimes he wouldn't. One time he came in and brought some chicken that he didn't finish. And I remember he slid the box in there and shut the door. And it was only one piece of chicken in there. And for some reason, I don't know what it was, he came back in for something. I can't remember what it was. But I took the chicken because I didn't want him to take it back. And I hid it up underneath the little pillow on that little mat we were on. And he left back out, and the ants were all over the chicken, just that fast. And my son was so hungry, he still ate that chicken. Yeah, and those are some of the things that we had to go through and endure.
Now in the garage, because we know you love to journal,
Yeah.
in the garage at one point you found a notebook. And then you came across the old tape recorder.
Yeah.
All right, before we go any further, let's roll the video of Laura finding the tape recorder in the garage. Mama, what's that?
this tape recorder, sometimes people don't believe you until they hear what happens. I'm gonna record him, show people what he's doing to them and to us.
Step away from me, boy. Don't step away from me, boy. Be back here. Never avenge yourself, but leave the wrath of God. Huh?
Lord, take us back there when you found the tape recorder. How much did you film? How much did you record of him? And how were you able to safely hide the tape recorder without Musa finding it?
Remember that tape recorder I had some teachings on there from Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I took the tape recorder and I started recording over those tapes. And I wanted to have something, some type of proof in case we didn't get through this alive, what was happening to us there. That's when I started looking through the boxes and I found the old legal pad. And I just started writing down everything, what happened to us. It turned into be about 26 pages. Because I wrote it back in the front. I would fold it up and keep it in my underwear at night. In case he saw it, and I would take the tapes and hide them in different areas in the garage. But I was always tell my son where they were, just in case I didn't make it through. I told him, make sure the authorities get these tapes and that letter.
Now let's go back to you, your son, and your daughter. You're locked in the garage, and at times you would hear Taz. She's a baby crying. How comfortable did you feel that Musa's wife was taking good care of your daughter? Take your time.
Of course, you don't want anyone else to raise your child. And that was hard to hear her. But at least I knew she was still alive. Mostly the reason because it was his daughter. Tracy, I swear.
Take your time. Take your time.
It was hard. Definitely hard. Because I wanted my baby. And I still had trying to have a choke on this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But she is.
I'm surrounded by love.
You know, thank you, honey. It's just hard.
This is her beautiful daughter, Taz. We love you, Laura. You are courageous. You are beautiful. You are strong. And you are surrounded in a world full of love. Look at your baby. Got a beautiful baby girl. You did a great job with her. She is gorgeous. Now let's talk about survival.
Wait a minute, hold on a minute.
What
Look at my sweater you got on.
You did not put her on Front Street like that. Oh my goodness. That's a mom for you. That's a mom for you.
Lord have mercy.
Now, let's talk about your ride to the post office.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about that day. He came and got you out of the garage, and he said, you need to go to the post office, Lord. What were your thoughts and feelings? leaving the house on the way to the post office. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. We stayed up in the hills in Temecula mountains, Cali. A little town called Awanga. It was real rural. You like rural areas, and it was like Indian reservation. Houses are real far in between. So the postal worker would come to your house and put a slip on your door if you have a package to tell you come in town and pick it up. And a package came that day, and he put the slip on the door. Musa took it off, and he asked me what it was, and I remember filling out food stamps, a form for food stamps. And I told him that's what it was, but he couldn't get it without meal ID. So he told me, go get my ID, let's go. Go into town and get this package. And I thought I was taking the kids for me, but he left them there. I had the note on me at the time, but not the tape recorders. They were still hidden in the garage. And so when I got into the car with him, all while we were driving there, I kept wondering, I got this note, how can I give it to somebody? Because he wouldn't leave your side. How can I pass it on? Do I just drop it on the ground? Do I pass it to somebody and they'll say something to me and he'll look and find it, Everything kept going through your mind. How am I going to get help? And I got the evidence on me. And when we finally got inside the post office, now, lifetime again, here we go. They twisted the thing around. This brother Reggie came up and, he met from a long time ago. But there was no brother Reggie. This guy, I never saw him. I only heard his voice. I was already in line. And I never saw him. But he kept him distracted, talking to him, how was this, that, and you like living here, that kind of thing. And as I was easing my way up to the clerk, and I finally got in front of her, and I would look back over my shoulder, and he was still talking. And so I said, I signed for the package. She went and got it, came back. And then after she told me, have a nice day, I'm still standing there, shaking, And I looked back over my shoulder, and then she looked back over my shoulder to see what I was looking at. She picked up on something, she did. And I started to raise my dress up in front of her to get the letter out of my underwear. And her eyes got big, and I was looking at her, and she was looking at me. But we didn't talk to each other. And I pulled the letter out, and I put it on the counter, and she reached over and got it and put it up underneath, real quick. And I just knew he saw it, because he yelled my name out. And he said, what's taking so long? And I said, I'm signing for the package. I thought he saw it, he didn't know. When I took the package off the counter, and we walked towards the door to leave, I looked back at her, and she just nodded. That's all she did.
We actually have that clip. Can we roll that clip of Laura at the post office?
Laura, come on now.
Okay, thank you.
Laura, after passing that note and going home, did you share with the lady in the other garage, hey, we might be safe? And how long did it take for the authorities to come rescue you after you passed the note?
I didn't share it with anyone. I was scared. I didn't even share it with my son. I didn't want to give his hopes up. Because all I know, all the doubts start coming in your mind. Did she read it? Did she throw it away? Is it still up underneath the counter? You know, that was all I had. There was nothing else to write with. The pen had broke. Everything was gone. I still had recordings, but I had nothing else written down. And then on those letters, I wrote down everything that was going on with us. The whole timeline. And I tried to even draw a little map where we were on there. Everything. And it was, I didn't know. What could have happened to that letter? It wasn't the very next day. It wasn't. It was the very day after that morning. It was early in the morning. I remember that because the kids in the house were still asleep. I couldn't sleep. I was laying there watching Ahmad and Miriam on that little mat. And all of a sudden I heard a car. And then it stopped and I heard 2 doors shutting. And the next thing I heard was some walking. And I was like on gravel. And it was coming closer and closer. And then that was it. The police started banging on the door. And I say they banged until like the whole house shook. And the kids, I could hear them screaming in the house, Daddy, Daddy, it's the police, it's the police. And they didn't show that part again, like Tom left out a lot of stuff. But he had these big, huge bike chains on the doors, wrapped around the doors. The patio door, back door, and the front door. And I never talked to Officer Fogel to ask him how he felt. Because he had to hear these chains, because he had to unlock it, take it off, unravel, what were they thinking about on the other side, you know? But he had, God, incredible. When I came to that door, because they asked for me, and I could stand there and I could see Officer Fogel looking right at mine, and he had a paper like that in his hands, and it was a copy of my letter. It wasn't the actual letter. And he started, and he asked me if I identify myself. Are you Laura Cowan? I said, yes. And he started to raise it up, you know, say, I got this. But then he saw my eyes. I gave him eye contact, motioning. This fool was right behind me. I mean, he was so close I could feel his breath on my neck. And he picked up on it. He says, I need to talk to you alone. And he went, what's this about? Get off my property. You got a warrant? Why are you here? That kind of thing. So he had his deputy next to him to keep him there. And he went around and talked to me on the side of the house. And he asked me, did you write this letter? And I said, yes. And I got tape recordings too. And my children are in that house. Are you being held against your will? And I said, yes. And he got on this little radio on his shoulder and he called me back up and that place was surrounded.
Now, once he was apprehended, Musa was convicted on 25 counts, including felony false imprisonment of his wives, felony child abuse, torture, and infliction of corporal injury on a spouse or occupant. He received 7 consecutive life sentences. Let me ask you, you didn't have to go to court, right? How did you feel when he was going through all of that? And how soon did you hightail it out and come back to Ohio?
Oh gosh, he was apprehended. It was like a relief. I just, you know, we were taken into protected custody by the police, the sheriff's department. They called the domestic violence center to come down and talk to us. They had advocates to come down. Oh guys, out of all the plans I planned, I had many, many plans. It all failed, but that one was a charm. only because I prayed that night before and I asked God, I'm giving it to you.
The power of prayer.
I'm giving it to you. I tried, but I